The GlobalCast showcases SFU students' diverse stories, a podcast that fosters inclusivity by sharing in intercultural conversations, opportunities, and fun segments with our SFU Global community. We want to start by respectfully acknowledging the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Kwikwetlem, and Musqueam peoples on whose sacred, unceded, and ancestral territories we are recording today.
In our 7th episode, we are joined by 3 lovely career peers from SFU's Career and Volunteering Services. Join us as we reflect upon our volunteering journeys, how we started, and explore what motivates us to keep going.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for listening in to our GlobalCast podcast. My name is Jobin, and I am one of the coordinators for the Global Connections program. I will also be hosting today's episode along with students from the SFU Global community, whom you will get to know very shortly. Before we get started, just a little bit of an intro. I am also an SFU student from a domestic pathway. So I entered university directly from a Canadian high school. I am in my 4th/5th year at SFU, and I'm pursuing a degree in molecular biology and biochemistry, along with a minor in health sciences. Fun fact, I will also be graduating very soon, and by very soon, I mean this fall 2021 semester, which is super exciting. Thank you for the claps. As I mentioned earlier, we do have students from our global community present here today. More specifically, we have career peers from SFU Career and Volunteer Services. As such, our topic for today's episode will primarily focus on sharing the personal experiences that these 3 students have had on their path to SFU and what they have learned throughout this journey in their career and volunteer work. With that being said, I will invite the career peers to please just briefly introduce yourselves.
I can go first. My name is Jillian Egeling. I'm a career peer at CVS, and I'm majoring in linguistics with a minor in learning and developmental disabilities and a certificate in speech science. And I'm in my 3rd year.
And I'll introduce myself next. Hi, I'm Julia Brown. I'm well, I don't actually know what year I am in. I like to say that I'm taking 4th year courses, but I have been in school longer than 4 years. I'm pursuing a joint communications and sociology degree, and I'm currently working on my hopefully master's project to be completed in a couple years.
And hi everyone, my name is Gagan Gill. I am a psychology student with a history minor, and I am also in my last year. I've been at SFU for a very long time, so I have a lot of experience to talk about.
Awesome. Thank you all for sharing and for joining us today, and we'll dive right in. So diversity is a very big change accompanied by a lot of different complexities for all students, regardless of whether they are international, domestic, or transfer students. I was wondering if any of you have any advice or tips as to how newly enrolled students can maximize their life and their experience in what is essentially a foreign environment for them.
I guess I can go first again.
Yeah,
for me, I started university straight out of high school back in 2019, but I came from a really small school, a small private school, and my graduating class was 25 kids. So it was a really big change for me, especially coming to such a big place, such a big university, where 25 is definitely not your average class size. And I think the best thing I can give as advice would be to just be open to just talking to the person sitting next to you in class. I feel like that's kind of how you make connections. Maybe not deep level connections at the moment, but that's the starting point where, like, hey, like, how did you like that syllabus? Are you ready for that quiz we're having tomorrow? Like, sometimes just having that small conversation can just start something where you can open your mind to creating more connections in university.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Julia.
But I actually completely agree with Jillian. Sometimes the best, like in a new class or the start of every term, sometimes I find the best is whoever you're sitting with is exchanging like social details first, so that you're like, just in case something happens, like we can review missed classes together or something like that. But that's like an easy practical in, and then you can kind of keep up that conversation of checking in with each other at the beginning of class and asking how everything's going. But it does, that little bold step can make a difference for that course throughout that semester, I think.
I agree with both of your points. I also think that reaching out to people that you already know, some people are so afraid of just doing that. That could also help you in general. Like if you see someone that you know, I'm pretty sure they're in the same boat as you. They're very confused. Just reach out. It's not going to hurt.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think just to echo everything you guys have already said, I think it's important for students to recognize that taking that first step is very important. And while you might be feeling a bit, nervous about saying hi to someone that's maybe sitting right next to you in a lecture hall, they're likely feeling the same way. So it's nice to kind of take that first step and take that initiative and be like, hey, how are you doing? Introduce yourselves and so on. So branching off this question, for students that are looking to get involved with the SFU community, can you all maybe share how you got into your volunteer roles and what really prompted you to take more of a proactive role?
I can answer this. I actually reached out to CVS, and which is Career and Volunteer Services, and they kind of told what websites we do have available, which is my involvement, my experience, checking even on just sfu.ca and searching volunteer experiences helped me. From that, I was able to look at the job descriptions, which one were more applicable to me, and which one I prefer.
Okay.
For me, getting into this specific role, I feel I was always into volunteering and like kind of helping out, even in my high school. And for me, taking on roles that are extracurricular was just kind of my thing. So I was like, okay, maybe university, let's do the first couple years of just school. Let's figure out this world first and kind of settle in, and then maybe start branching out and gaining different experiences that is not necessarily coursework. And so that's kind of how I got into the workshop and back into the CP to being a career peer. Yeah.
Mhm. I'll just add into that, like thinking about, I know a lot of the clubs and organizations at SFU have multiple roles. And I know in what we're doing at Career and Volunteer Services, there's always opportunity to take on new responsibilities or test out a new project and things like that. I feel like a lot of the peer programs are really encouraging of like, if you have an idea, speak up either in a meeting or a one-on-one with some sort of supervisor or someone, and really just propose the ideas. If you have something, even just an inkling, like it's just a tiny spark, it can grow into something, but a lot of the time it is just verbalizing what that idea is. And I know the career peers, our team has been really supportive of for whatever we want to try out or whatever we want to experiment with, media promotions or something like that, we can always find a way to create that, because I mean the students are kind of the young, the inspiration kind of behind a lot of the stuff that actually takes place in the community.
Yes. All very, very great responses here. How valuable is it for students to know about the resources that are available to them through SFU? And do any of you have any resources that you can think of off the top of your head that may be of use to our new students?
Well,
CVS. Oh,
I think I was going to say the same thing that Gagan said, so I'll let her say it.
I was going to mention the same thing that I've been repeating over. Career and Volunteer Services. They're there for us to use to look into volunteer resources, and they may also give suggestions for other resources that are available, since they are all interconnected in somewhat way.
Mhm. CVS, one of our other career peers who has moved on to a different section within Career and Volunteer Services, but she's created a volunteer Canvas course. So it's a free Canvas course, no grades or any credit associated with it, but she's collected a lot of the volunteer volunteer information in different organizations into one concise Canvas course that we can share the self-enrollment link with students. Really great resource if you're looking to volunteer, if you already know where you want to volunteer, but you need to brush up on your cover letter, resume, or if it's something like career peers or any peer program where you have to interview, you can get tips on that interview process and stuff like that. That's one lesser known resource, I think, because it's pretty new.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, I definitely think SFU Career and Volunteer Services have a lot of different resources that are available for students to use. For like speaking from experience, I remember being in like I think it was my first year, and going to one of like the advisors there, and kind of sitting down with them and going through the different volunteer opportunities that kind of aligned with my goals. And I think that was a very, very valuable experience. And that's kind of what got me and prompted me to actually start volunteering. Yeah, so that's that. And now shifting our attention to second and third year students, what are some ways in which students can seek out opportunities to get more experience and really build that strong and solid resume or CV?
I think I can take some of this question as a third year student. I think we can all say that this last year has been a little rough, especially when it comes to finding and experiencing various things. I know for me, I was actually supposed to be this semester, I was going to go abroad and study for a semester in Japan to kind of like take in the language and the culture, because it's something I was really interested in. So I know that was kind of put on hold, but hopefully soon that will start again. But I think when it comes to looking for kind of gaining experience I think going back to our first question, just reaching out, maybe not just to people next to you, but maybe even to your prof. Sometimes even they have some great resources for the fields that you're looking into, to either maybe just workshops or even various volunteer opportunities under them or under someone else that they know in their field. And I guess that kind of goes to reaching out to career and volunteer services for other volunteer experiences. And I think also joining various clubs. I think I know for me, like I joined a couple clubs and I did kind of gain different experiences that kind of helped me figure out more of my own career goals and the type of where I'm trying to go career-wise in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that, Jillian. Does anyone else want to contribute?
Just to add on to Jillian's point, especially workshops, that is a great way to network with others. You'll meet other people that are in similar positions as you, some even graduate students or even professors that are going to be attending. I was attending a negotiation workshop and there was a professor attending, and we were able to relate on how we both lack understanding of how to build negotiation skills, but they also gave their own experience on how I could apply to it, and then vice versa.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and again, all very great resources here, and ways for students to get involved and get more experience. For myself personally, I think CoOp was a total game changer for me. I learned more about my field, the new research that was happening, along with like the new methods and techniques that were being developed at the time and that continue to be developed now. And most importantly, I learned more about myself, my likes, dislikes, what I wanted out of my career. And my CoOp placement really truly like offered me the clarity that I needed to help solidify the type of job that I wanted to pursue. And something that I think that all of us can attest to is that students are a bit hesitant to partake in CoOp sometimes. Some of the reasons that I've heard for this are because students are either afraid they won't graduate on time, or they have other plans for themselves, or they are afraid that they might not like their CoOp placement, all of which are very valid reasons. But I also think it's very important to recognize that university is a time of exploration. This is really the time to find yourself and what your interests are. So taking some time off from academics to pursue a CoOp in the long run, I think, offers much more benefits than zooming through your undergraduate career, graduating, and then realizing, oh, I actually am not passionate about this field and I want to do something else. Or it might be that through CoOp, you learn that you truly do enjoy the work that you are doing. So that gives you some experience prior to graduating, which is very valuable, especially in the eyes of employers. Okay, now moving on once again. Sorry, Julia, did you have anything to add to that?
Oh, not really to add. I mean, I kind of just loved what you said about it really is exploration and trying things out. And yeah, a lot of people are obsessed with this first year, second year, third year, fourth year kind of structure. But there's a lot of learning and a lot of growing that I think happens in that time, and to kind of not be afraid of it. And it's okay if your undergrad is maybe 5 or 6 years. I think mine is over, but that's also my own story, so that's fine.
Well, I'm in the same boat, 5th-year student here, so yes, okay. So now for more of our senior students who are closer to completing their studies, I want to touch on the topic of non-linearity. Do any of you guys have any advice for students that had a particular career goal in mind, let's say, but are now kind of shifting their focus and leaning towards a different career path?
I don't know if I have I don't know if I have practical advice. But it is one of the things, like, just to let students know that they're not alone in that. It might seem that you're surrounded by people who finished high school, knew what they were doing, came to university, still knew what they were doing, and now are maybe doing that or on their way to continuing that. But I think those people are just fewer, and I think there's a lot of other people that are changing their minds, experimenting, taking breaks. I actually am a bit delayed coming to university. So when I graduated high school, I took 5 years off and kind of just lived and worked and traveled. But a lot of that was because I didn't believe I was smart enough for university. I didn't believe that I could do it. High school was a challenge. And so I just was like, wrote that off a little bit, and then needed to take some courses just to upgrade some other skills. And then I was like, oh, this environment kind of works for me. I can actually do this. And then even in that process of deciding to go to university, I did switch my area of interest to something more, well, yeah, to sociology, what I'm doing now. But those kind of changing your mind or growing within your topic area or something like that, I think is really normal, and it does demonstrate reflection and growth and maturity as well.
Yes, definitely.
Kind of to add to that, like I know I'm not anywhere close to finishing, but in my own kind of 2 to 3 year experience, like kind of going off what Julia said, I like for her, high school was not just her place of thriving, but university is. So maybe sometimes it's just where you are is just not, it's just not your place where you thrive. So even now, like Julia's thriving here in university. And I feel like that's something a lot of people sometimes don't know, that maybe just because you're in this place and it's not working for you doesn't mean everywhere is not going to work for you. And I think that's even within majors. And I know for me, like I switched my major once, or because I shifted my own career goal within the last year, actually, because I just found that this is just, I see myself doing this more. I thrive in this area more than what I was doing in my previous major. And I think so I guess an advice for that would be just to really explore that. Because sometimes like we've been saying, we're sometimes afraid to take that first step. And maybe it's just one course that you want to take, and then that could just count. And then you try it out. Okay, maybe it works. Try another course. Okay, maybe it doesn't work. Okay, then now you know you've explored it and it doesn't work. So now you at least you now still have a fallback where you're still on a specific goal while exploring other things as well.
Similar to Julia, my university year has not been linear at all, or years have not been linear at all. My first few years were actually quite stressful, and then eventually I got eased into it, realizing yes, university is for me. So if anyone is in that position, like Jillian mentioned, try exploring a bit more. And university is not the only thing in life. Like a lot of people just go into the mindset that this is life or death, but no, there's plenty of other things in life. Like you have loved ones, you can explore, go travel like Julia and see the world. Um, and not and also just try to explore different things that you do like in different ways, whether it's interacting with different groups of people outside of school, inside of school.
Yeah, I think everyone's experiences like really do highlight that for most of us, university is not a linear path. As I mentioned previously, this is really the time to discover yourself. And so we really need to shift away from that narrative that post-secondary education is very clear cut and there's only one path that everyone follows. And yeah, it's very important to recognize that. In fact, I think it's also crucial to acknowledge this outside of a school setting because the position you are in right now, whether academically or professionally, might not be where you will be in 5, 10, 15 years. So there's always room for change.
Yeah, I was just going to add in again, based on this kind of conversation about exploration and trying things out. I will add in one more kind of service that maybe people don't know about from career and volunteer services. I think we advertise really well that you can talk to career peers, which are SFU students, about developing resume and cover letter and things like that. But you can also talk about those big, hard to answer questions about what do I want to do and what do I want to be and things like that with career educational specialists. So these are people with degrees and qualifications in the field of career education. And they're equipped to talk about those more difficult questions or to give you the tools of self-exploration, because it can be daunting to say, okay, well, what do you love? Do that. And it's easy to say, it's not an easy thing to answer, but definitely looking up the career educational specialists.
Mm-hmm. Yes, for sure. An anecdote that we also often hear is that university is like a roller coaster. You go through various ups and downs, and sometimes you encounter things that you did not really anticipate having to face. So I'm curious to know if you guys have experienced situations such as these, and if so, what has helped you to navigate through these ups and downs?
My experience, it was a roller coaster and has been a roller coaster. I was actually contemplating on dropping out last year, like literally like a year ago. But then I know this is gonna sound corny, but I listened to a song from BTS and it's like life goes on. So and that encouraged me. It's like, you know what? They have a point. This is not the only thing. Like I worked hard. This is something that I've always wanted, and which is a further education. And if you are in a situation where you're contemplating on which path to go to, realize that you're going to be in different paths several throughout your life.
Hmm.
And you can always reach out to someone, if it's a family member, a friend or a person that you met several years ago, maybe even open to talking to you. Like even a stranger on the bus may be willing to listen. Maybe that's a bit dangerous, but there's also they may be open to talking.
Yeah, I would just say with that, the notion that it's university can be a roller coaster and sometimes it feels overwhelming and too much pressure when you're at those really lows. I know something that helped me is kind of diversifying, having different social circles or having different interests, different activities. So one could be volunteering or a club, or it could be like a sport or something, but trying to have more in your life than just school, because when you're only focusing on school and school is really kicking you down and keeping you low, it's hard to see any way out of that, and it's hard to see how it's going to get better if you're, say, in the middle of your degree and you still have 2 more years. But yeah, having those other activities, having multiple people to talk to, and share some of that stress, I think helped me.
I think I cannot agree more with that statement. For myself, my first 2 years were not the best. Like they were definitely not smooth by any means. And I largely attribute that to just having a very academically focused mindset, as opposed to kind of exploring the different resources that were available to me and the different, clubs or like student unions that I could have joined. And all of the different opportunities that are available to you, and not just being stuck in that, oh, school, school, school mindset is very important. And it's also very good for your mental health as well, because you don't have to be stressed as much about just focusing solely on your studies. And it also gives you like the opportunity to interact with different people from the SFU community, which is also a very, very good thing. Okay, well, thank you all for sharing your responses to these questions. We hope that the viewers enjoyed listening into the topics that were discussed today. With that being said, does anyone have any closing remarks or anything?
I guess just come see us. Come book appointments with us as career peers. We're just really happy to help and be of help to students who are really looking into building resumes and different things like that.
The career pairs are also open to collaborating with other clubs and organizations. We have done workshops with several different groups. So if that's of interest to whatever you might be already involved in or want to propose in an organization, then yeah, you can also reach out through the website or email.
Yeah, we do workshops on resume, cover letter, and LinkedIn, just in case people may be wondering. Just put that out there at least.
Okay, great, fantastic. Well, I think with that being said, thank you guys so much for joining me today. And thank you viewers for listening. And that is it for today's episode. Bye.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the GlobalCast. If you have any questions you would like answered by us or want to let us know what you'd like to hear in the next episode, leave us a message on Facebook or Instagram at SFU Global Community. Until next time.